So I'm going to find an issue where I can mark it as to do with something that I need to. So if I go to my
Mhm.
board, I need to refine this one. No one has tagged me on this issue. There's not an ongoing discussion. I had a Zoom call with Sarah Vogelli, who's a designer on my team, and after the call, I realized I needed to kind of condense my thoughts into a more refined issue. So as I go to mark as a to-do, it's in the list now, but I have no context to why I added it there.
Mm-hmm.
So here's my new to-do, and it would be so useful if I could have annotated this or added a note that said, refine description.
Right.
That was it. That would be incredibly helpful because as I'm working through this, I could have upwards of 10 of these a day. And it would be nice to have the to-dos with relation to, content refinement for issues and epics, which as a PM is one of my first and foremost responsibilities, is making sure things are always up to date and consumable by any audience.
Mm-hmm.
And then having that combined with things that I need to respond to. And then in here I can prioritize. So I have not utilized these filters a ton, but a drag and drop interface would also be nice because then I could.
How would you prioritize them? That's interesting. Like, how are you wanting to drag and drop them?
So let's see. Stuff at the bottom. Right now, I believe the organization is like how long ago somebody pinged me on something. And things that I haven't addressed yet, but are still important, are showing up at the bottom, which isn't terrible. But things that I would prioritize first are questions developers and designers have asked me directly,
Mm-hmm.
which might represent a blocker. So it is very important that I unblock them as soon as possible. And organizing this from to-dos via using Slack means that all of my work is in the same place. And stuff that's captured in Slack, isn't captured in the history of this. So if Simon said, hey, Sarah, can you get eyes on this? Here are the questions I have. I would drag that kind of stuff to the top of my list. And then things that would go lower in the list are perhaps where the entire product team has been pinged.
Right. That makes sense. Are they currently just slacking you mostly? Or is it if you don't get back to them in a set amount of time, they'll slack you kind of thing?
It's that one.
Okay.
So right now I am scanning these so let's see. Here's one. Here's customer feedback that I should read at some point. And here's a response from my boss, which I can mark as done. Here's something from one of the developers on my team that I should probably read and respond to quickly, as he and I were conversing on that. So I would grab this one and I would move this one to the top. Here's that. Wow. See, he's pinged me a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm.
3. Oh, wow. I should probably go through this too.
So how often are you kind of like refining, grooming this little to-do?
I am trying to do it twice a day. So I'm trying to make it my first thing in the morning and then my first thing after lunch.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have an ongoing conversation with someone where we are going back and forth every, 15, 30 minutes, then I'll check it more often.
Okay. So at the end of the day, is the goal to have 0 to-dos?
Yes, that is my goal. It's kind of like the 0 inbox thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm leaning on this because it's in the platform where I'm working, having to do with the issues and epics where we're having conversations.
Right.
And to capture as much, for me to be aware of and participate in as many things as possible, it would be really nice to be able to organize this and add descriptions.
And that's interesting. So when you created that issue, but you didn't finish filling it out, was that almost just to remind yourself to create that issue in the first place? Or like why in your workflow didn't you just like create or finish that issue?
So it was created during backlog refinement.
Okay.
And we had 15 people on the call, and Clement had 3 ideas. And so I quickly created 3 different issues, threw in context from the call while we had everyone there, linked it to the epic, and then later I would go back and refine it, because that takes some time to go and link my personas and capture the problem exactly.
Definitely. I do the same. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was just kind of wondering if it was similar. So like a meta to-do, a to-do of a to-do. That's awesome.
And I guess you could go even further and add custom to-dos. I don't know. That seems like right now I think to-dos are just marked as like a little metadata thing on the issue.
What do you mean by custom to-dos though?
So instead of it being, this is not as important to me because all of my to-dos are related to an issue or an epic or a merge request, like a GitLab thing. I saw an issue, I think in the plan project, that said it would be nice if you could just click, like, there's a little plus symbol here, and you click it, and it says add to do, and you fill it out, and then you have like a little section that says link, and you could link it to something. I think the workflow makes more sense to be on the issue. Let's see.
I get it. So it's like you're creating kind of like how you create a to-do list, like historically, like you're within the to-dos. I just want to create a list of things to do. I want to clean my house. I want to buy more water or whatever.
There you go.
You're doing it within the to-do section. That's what you're talking about. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that might be if I've like collected a bunch of issues somewhere, or more almost like creating epics in a way, right? Like I have this big to do with a bunch of maybe issues within it, which I don't know how that would work, but my brain is going crazy places. Cool. That makes sense. So are you using email notifications at all anymore, or are you just relying on to-dos?
I am relying on to-dos until someone reaches out to me and says, why did you miss this thing?
Okay.
And that's been my workflow. So so far, no one has said anything. I've just had GitLab email notifications are difficult for me to manage. I find the nested, so we can look at one. So yeah, I have 70 since I set this up on like Thursday. This is insane.
Yeah. That's the feedback we get. There's a lot of notifications.
And this one seems okay. So I think these are reasonably in order. Yeah. But they get messy when you start. So these are, I believe these are just comments all in a row. But when you start commenting on a comment, so when you start threading discussions in GitLab, the interface in email, I cannot follow. I have to go to the discussion.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
But that's not necessarily GitLab's fault. Like, I think nested emails in Gmail are just miserable anyways.
It's just confusing. Yeah.
This is way better.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. So what I'm kind of hearing from you is that you'd like to set maybe a priority within your to-dos and basically just adding that context of why the to-do has been created.
Yes, that would be fantastic. And if I had to pick one, adding context would be first.
So awesome. We've gone a little over, but is there anything else like that you've noticed about to-dos that you want me to think about?
Let me think. It could be cool to have, no, I think that's annoying. I was thinking there could be like an interim state. So there's like, no, I don't think that makes any sense. I think it's on the list or it's not on the list.
So what, like it's pending deletion kind of thing?
Like in progress, or you could have the ability to say like anything from this project immediately mark as done, or anything where I'm tagged as part of this handle mark as done.
Last question. What did you mean by like in progress, interim state?
So let me find an example. This one. This is in progress.
I see.
This is me trying to get a screenshot of this feature on GitLab.com for the release post.
Mm-hmm.
And it's taking me a little bit, and I've got it open on my text editor, and I'm writing the description for it, and I'm talking to the developer who built it about how to get access to the review app to get a screenshot.
Okay.
So it could be like not done, doing done.
So like a Kanban for to-dos.
But I was thinking that is not what a to-do list is for. That is a Kanban board.
Mm-hmm.
No need to add ridiculous functionality to this. This should be a task manager.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, but again, maybe it goes back to like somehow surfacing.
Yeah.
What you're doing, that you're working on, right? So
yep.
That makes sense. Just thinking about it a different way. Awesome. Thanks so much, Sarah. I don't want to keep you, but this is great.
No, this was awesome. What was another thing? No. I like this hover over a lot. I use this a ton.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that drives me nuts is I cannot open this into another window.
Right.
I cannot right click on this and pop it out. I have to click on it and I get ripped out of context.
Yep. I feel like that's an issues thing across the board.
Yeah. It's like I'm going to go through 3 of these. I'm going to pop them out into new tabs. I'm going to go deal with them, mark them as to done, and come back to this.
Mm-hmm.
It could also be cool to have a slide over. So if I like clicked on it and a little window, like the sidebar and an issue popped out, and I could see and respond here and stay with my list, that would be cool too.
And then see it reflecting in real time that it's done.
Yes.
That makes sense.
So many desires.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, hey, that's why I'm here, to work on these things.
Sweet.
Yeah.